Did you know that you might be affected by the curse of perfectionism? There are a lot of obsessions among the game developers. For example, I sometimes find myself spending a lot of time staring absurdly at my screen, thinking of ways to accomplish a task in a way that gives perfect results. Every time this happens to me, I take a break to decide what to do, and the decision was always to remake the game with minor changes. This is called perfectionism, and it caused me so much pain. If this sounds familiar to you, I am sure you are suffering from perfectionism too. But don't worry, there are ways to deal with it. Let's start by understanding the perfectionism. Perfectionism makes your game look better because it makes you spend more time on tiny details, and the reason behind it is the instinct of making something perfect. But there is a downside. Perfectionism keeps you from doing business, prevents you from making money, and makes you spend your less money on useless books that are about perfectionism. It's a potent weapon, but its barrel is pointed at you. As a game developer, what you need to do is not try to get rid of this weapon, but grab it and use it for your benefit. There are thousands of personal development books written on this. I'm sure with a little eBay search you can get a room full of books about how to deal with perfectionism. If you ask my opinion, none of them worth a dime. If only one of these books had worked, rest assured the new ones wouldn't have been published. What all those books do is motivate you with fancy words, nothing more. But today we will talk about how to turn perfectionism in our favor practically, with real life examples. Let's break down the curse of perfectionism under two circumstances. The first curse of perfectionism is seen when thinking of a game idea. The scenario is usually like this. A game idea comes to your mind, you start to detail it gradually, and you expect every detail to be perfect at the idea stage. But the perfectionist's problem is never getting satisfied by the results. At the end of the day, your game idea is never going to be perfect. That's why you're losing your interest in the game. As the days go by, your game idea starts to become worthless in your mind, and the moment you finally say, it was a bad idea, quitting becomes justified. Don't panic if you're about to quit your game idea. Think all of the games you have ever played and the details they contain. There is no way that these games were made by someone who isn't a perfectionist, so it's totally normal to be a perfectionist. Of course you cannot handle this curse since you are probably alone with your game idea. Don't blame yourself, we will settle this right here, right now. Okay, if you're a perfectionist, that's great, because your game might turn out perfectly. The only thing you have to consider is this is the first time you are making a remarkable game. Just take it easy, don't make an RPG or a 4X game. These genres are too complex to play anyway. It's also extremely complex to develop them. I mean, just think about it. There are even fun Wikipedias dedicated to these genres. Please don't get offended if you're an experienced programmer or artist, because being a good programmer or good artist won't solve wicked problems like time management, sustainability, and burnouts. Think about making a platformer, roguelite, puzzle, or racing games. Just pick the genre that is easy to make as a perfectionist, because as you know, making a perfect puzzle game is way easier than making a perfect RPG game. I'm not claiming that you always have to choose simple genres. What I mean is just take it easy and accept the fact that it's hard to make complex genres as a perfectionist. Perfectionism won't kill a puzzle game because what's the cost of making a puzzle game in a perfect way compared to an RPG? It's just a puzzle game. But if you're a serious perfectionist, you will also have trouble with making puzzle games. But I can assure you, it won't be as much as 4X or RPG genre. So you should experience how to deal with perfectionism by choosing a simpler genre. Otherwise, your project will die before you experience it. Also, you will be killing the possibility of being able to handle more complex games in the future. The second curse of perfectionism is seen when you are building your game. The code suddenly seems bad to you, so you write it again and again. You don't like the model you made, you do it again. The music you choose suddenly starts to sound bad, you look for a new music. The longer you develop the game, the more things you change over and over. After a while, it becomes a vicious cycle and you can't finish game because you're trying to change everything over and over again. And believe me, this vicious cycle will never end if you are a true perfectionist. By the way guys, sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to myself. When I create this type of content, I feel like I'm in a group therapy with people suffering the pain of game dev. If videos don't get likes, I feel like I'm a psychopath talking alone in a group therapy. So if you smash the thumbs up button down below, you can verify that I am not a psycho. In fact, we weren't born true perfectionists. This curse came upon us. Because remember the paintings we did in our childhood or the first games we developed. None of them were made with the concern of being perfect. As you get older, you start to become a perfectionist because you had to be the best kid in a school, you had to get an A on the exam. Your family and your friends only appreciated the perfect ones, even you. The school you went for years has only trained you for perfection. Your teachers put serious efforts to make perfectionism a lifestyle for you because schools from industrial revolution were built to train factory workers who were focused on producing the perfect product. That's why our decision-making skills are very limited. We can only decide what is perfect, whereas in the real world there may be no perfect option, and we may have to choose the best one out of the bad options. But we are not used to it. We are programmed to choose just the perfect options. Okay, enough with these anti-school remarks, let's move on with the solution. Perfectionism is such a powerful weapon and you should be proud to have it. Imagine you have billions of dollars and you burn the money because it affects you badly. Believe me, perfectionism is worth more than billions of dollars to a game developer. I'll give you a few tips to remove the curse of perfectionism and keep the benefits of it. Plan your workflow perfectly. Your game doesn't have to be perfect, but your plan has to be. You can be perfectionist in setting milestones for your game. A well-defined milestone includes expected completion time and a summary of tasks. In this way, you can divide a game into manageable tiny parts, which are called milestones. It helps with time management and keeps you from being distracted by the other parts of the game. Always consider that the more you minimize the focus area, the easier to reach perfection. Classify the tasks. Remember all the games you have played so far. Everything wasn't perfect, was it? Indeed they were not. Of course, not every part of the game has to be perfect, but most parts should be perfect. You have to decide what should be perfect and what shouldn't be. For example, in an FPS game, the shooting mechanics and visuals have to be perfect, but the cinematics doesn't have to be. If you classify important and unimportant tasks at the planning stage, you make sure the curse of perfectionism appears when working on important tasks. Specify what is perfect. Perfectionism is a curse seen in a people who can't achieve perfection. Now imagine that you're in a long journey and your goal is to arrive at a city where you don't know. Of course you can't reach your goal. You don't know where the city is. That's why you need to specify what is perfect. For example, the perfect movement mechanic for me is the mechanic in Apex Legends. See? Now, the perfect is well defined and it is reachable. Just Google how to make Apex Legends movement mechanic. Change your mindset. You were not born perfectionists, but the system sculpted you that way. You need to change your mindset because we are no longer in the industrial age. You don't have to do the perfect thing just because you can. You need to change your motto from everything should be perfect to don't fix if it is not broken. This is really not a bad thing. On the contrary, it's a great virtue. This is a long and tedious process, and don't expect it to happen all of a sudden. Think long term. Remember, you don't have a single bullet. You can make as many games as you want as long as you're alive. At least one of them will surely meet your expectation. Don't forget that the game you are working on right now is a star in a galaxy. Just look at the big picture. Finishing what you started is more important than making it perfect. Long story short, perfectionism is a great thing, but it must be managed well. Yes, sorry, but that's it for this video, guys. If you found it helpful, smash the thumbs up button down below so more people can see the video. And if you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.